see, setting this up. Good morning, how are you? Trying to just set up my phone here. I'm still borrowing someone's truck because Ruby Beige died. My car, she was ruby colored on the outside and beige on the inside. And she, although she was only 4.5 years old, she died in the city of New Orleans, Ubering. I think the city tore up, just like pretty much it does to everybody's vehicles who go there, with all the manholes, sinkholes, potholes, and more. There are literally sinkholes in New Orleans now. And someone said, the city's sinking. I'm like, it's not really sinking. I just say that. But no, really it is. It's kind of spooky. I thought about moving there from across the lake, and I was driving uptown and they had a heat, everything's fine. I go there the next day and there's literally a sinkhole the size bigger than my vehicle. I was like, in one day. And so they put in these they put in these orange, like, I'm trying to think of what it's called. Whatever they put in the road, like, don't drive here, inside the sinkhole. And I come the next day, there's 2 of them. And they're literally, one is sunk into the other like this. Like, you could tell it was sinking more. And I realized as I was driving around the city, because I thought, oh, they just toss them on the ground. They don't even care how they look or anything. They don't care if it's looks like a mess or they just put it in a hole. But no, actually what they do is they put those orange poles, like little, you know, stop at this, I don't know what to call it, a roadblock basically. Like, and they basically, the little roadblocks, they literally sink into the ground where like only this much is showing. So people, I know that I called this Crush It Like a Girl Boss launch, and it is, and I'll explain what that is in just a minute. Basically, I was Ubering part-time from March to about June, then my car died. And so, yeah, that in New Orleans, you have to have a vehicle that's 8 years or newer. So I go to rent a vehicle through Hertz and Uber, and all 150 of the fleet were taken. And they said no one was returning them. So I'm like, well, okay. So I have friends who are loaning me their truck right now, which is very gracious, but it's not new enough for the city to tear up. So, what is the Crush It Like a Girl Boss launch? Sorry if you guys see that. My messages always come up. People always want something from me, one way or another. Basically, I'm a Weebly ambassador, which means that I applied to be an ambassador. I teach people how to use Weebly, just do like a little tutorial or walk them through it, and you know, help them launch their site, because they could launch it in just maybe 3 or 4 hours. And since I know a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, startups, and people who had their site done and it looks like terrible, I mean, just, it's scary. They should not even have it online. But so I show them how to switch it quickly to Weebly, and so I'm approved by Weebly to be an ambassador. I can give it a discount code, and for like, I think 15% off for a year. It's already really inexpensive anyway. If you want to have your own site and host a domain, it's not even $10 a month. But you can have a free website if you want to. You don't have to pay at all. It will just have the .weebly.com instead of just a .com or some other like vanity URL. But still, it's very, very, very inexpensive. And it's easy to maintain, which is why I use it with a lot of not-for-profits, because they don't have a lot of money, and a lot of times they don't have the time to, you know, the resources to learn something like WordPress or Wix, which is a little bit more involved, you know. And a lot of people say, as far as like WordPress is concerned, that's the best, or Wix is the best. Really, the thing is that WordPress, it is really good and it's the most used, but it is you do have to learn it. There's a learning curve involved for sure, and it's not as easy to launch. It's not as easy to use. It's less put together than Weebly. Weebly is really, really fast at launch. They have really beautiful sites, and your themes are, everything's in one place. With WordPress, it's more or less like you go and get your theme from here, or you get your theme from there, and it's just not as organized as Weebly is. And as far as Wix is concerned, I don't think they have an app like Weebly does. I actually used to do a lot of blogging for affiliate commissions with the Trinity Prep homeschool website, because I homeschooled for 10 years, and I would do curriculum reviews, and which is actually still a really, really good site. People still purchase things from my reviews there at Trinity Prep Homeschool, and I would use my phone and my iPad to just basically copy and paste pictures from, I would get emails from different affiliates and copy and paste codes for like sales and things like that, and just post it from my phone or my iPad, which is why I actually had time to blog, because I could just do it on the go. Or if I had an idea, I would just open up a blog post, because you can start a blog post. I probably still have like 10 that's not even that's not even published yet, but basically you can make changes to it and have it as a draft. You know, you have 50 blog post drafts. I didn't ever have that many, because I'm too anal to have that many unfinished blog posts. But I would just speak into my phone, and it would record it, and then I would just like edit it, because Siri never really understood what I was saying. She does a little bit better now, but still. So I never had like an Android phone, because even though Google and Android, their voice understands higher pitched voices, like women or men who have higher pitched voices better, it's still just using iPhone and iOS for so many years. I just have everything really, really set up the way I want it to be, and you know, I have all the apps I need. And basically Android and Google, their phones are bigger. Now they said the Google Pixel is a smaller phone now. They got a smaller one, but I just, after having my laptop stolen in May, some pirate stole my laptop and its bag, and so I've had to like pull everything from the cloud, which it was, and I had like Windows 10, so everything was saved, all my proprietary information, the stuff I used to do web design and social media strategy and digital marketing strategy, AdWords, analytics, all my notes, that stuff is all saved and backed up to clouds, but that, which would be Microsoft OneDrive, which is really, really good, and Google Drive. marketing, AdWords, analytics. I got certified in both. Google Tag Manager. I mean, I just studied all of this. YouTube strategy and, of course, social media strategy. That would be one of the first and easiest. Analytics and AdWords are probably the hardest, to be honest, to actually do it correctly. But, oh, and SEO, of course. But, so that's probably SEO and AdWords and analytics are the very hardest to do. And so as I did and learned all of this stuff online for free, people kept telling me, well, you need to write ebooks and you need to write books, and you know, and I thought, well, you know, I don't really have a whole lot of time to do that, although I know that I could do it, and I could do consultations online and help people basically launch their own personal brand online and how to do it correctly and why you should do things, you know, A, B, and C. So I thought when I had time to think and I wasn't, you know, trying to avoid a bunch of drunk people and, you know, killing them in the city in the French Quarter overnight, which was its own fun event. And basically what I'll do is I'm going to have a channel that's dedicated to Uber stories, and so which will be fun because I have a ton of funny stories to tell, and I know that people will love hearing them already. My sons actually asked me to tell them stories at night, Uber stories, instead of like bedtime, you know, stories like that. So excuse me if I smoke, which I do now. native language, and it's not easy to learn. Basically, analytics, a lot of it is actually half of it when you read it, it's JavaScript. So if you don't know that, you're like, it's just like reading another language you just really don't know. It's gotten a lot better and easier with like demo accounts to learn. But typically, small businesses aren't going to use analytics that much. But still, it's good to have someone look at your setup of analytics and AdWords, make sure that everything is optimized, do like a SEO scan on your site to see where you could be optimized. Now, for the cheating parts, and it's not cheating, but it feels like it. And I actually had an apprentice once say, "Isn't this cheating? It feels like cheating." I'm like, no, it's not cheating. It's probably the funnest part of what I do, and it's competitor research. I use SEMrush and Moz. Basically, I use SEMrush now, though, the most. Sometimes I use Moz, it depends. I don't always just use one thing. So I use SEMrush, and the easiest way from point A to point B to figure out what keywords you should use is to look at if you have competitors, especially strong competitors. Put in the top other 5 competitors. They don't even give you ideas of competitors who are using the same keywords, whether it's local or not. It's all in there. And it's not as difficult as analytics. It is a learning curve, but it's not like Google Analytics. Nothing is that hard, to be perfectly honest. Still, you put in that, and it will tell you what they're actually paying for their ads. And so you can have benchmarks, which words they're using, which words are the most popular, and that sort of thing. So you can sort of see what they did SEO-wise, and what they use, so that you know, okay, these are the things I should do. Because I can give you a checklist of 200 things for SEO to do, but you only really need to do 3, or something completely different, like schema markup, and then because the bots read that, like the Google bots read schema markup better than really anything, and they recognize it, it would be much faster to get from point A to point B, which is to have better SEO than your competitors, and then you pay less for your ads. And that is most easily done through something like SEMrush, which they didn't have 5 years. Well, they had it, but it wasn't as, let's say it wasn't as competitive. And so a lot of people did Google Trends for words, Google Keywords, stuff like that, but that's a little bit more, I use it as like a backup to check, to double check, because not everyone has the same list, as it were. It's sort of like, doing a Google search and a Bing search will come up with some different things. And so I always double check, but for the most part, you don't have to. And so you can have a SEMrush account for free to start with. And I'll drop the links for SEMrush at the end of this video, and the Weebly discount rates. And so I also launched, so I thought I'm going to launch my own branding, my own personal branding, which I've been wanting to do. And so that's where I'll put everything that I know and do. And do basically, a person can purchase an ebook, checklists, do these things, and then also I can offer consultations, or will offer consultations, which I already do anyway, to help when they have questions, or to give them, if they want me to launch everything, a website, new branding, strategy, all that. If they want, me to do one part of it, just the SEO or the SEM, whatever it is, they can purchase it separately. And so I didn't want to launch that obviously under Trinity Prep Homeschool, because it's not about homeschool. I just basically 5 or 6 years ago just started. I knew that I was homeschooling, and I knew that I would just read everything about everything. It's whatever it is I'm learning, I read everything about it. So I had tried and read about probably 100 different curriculums, and I thought I really need to start doing reviews on this, so to get free curriculum because I just knew it. So I started a blog on Weebly, and that's where it started. So from that point, I learned web design and SEO to be competitive. Analytics, AdWords came later with, actually, Google does this, it's called Google for Nonprofits, and they give a $10,000 AdWords grant per month for qualifying 501c3s. So I had to learn that for the church I did a website for, and they got a free YouTube channel where there's no ads on it. You can have ads if you want, but you don't have to. And so they do all this, like, circulate their videos for campaigns to raise money for whatever it is that it's approved. With the church, it's Covenant Baptist, it's counseling, free counseling they offer to the public. That's just one of the things they do. So the whole Google for Nonprofit grant includes AdWords, the free text ads, and of course you have to know what you're doing, or else you could get kicked off the program, and you really don't want to do that to a nonprofit. So I had to study AdWords and Sincerity at that point, and not just AdWords Express, but you can use AdWords Express. And in YouTube, that's when I studied YouTube strategy. They have a whole Google owns YouTube, and so just like every other thing they present and put out, there are videos and tutorials on how to do it. And I can say it's a lot easier and than analytics and AdWords, but there's still there's a lot of SEO to it. So that's when I studied those things, and then I thought, well, I really could make more money charging per hour for everything I do and know, and so that's what I did. I make sure I'm going the correct way here. Yes, that's what I did, was just started to do web design and social media strategy, branding, graphic design, AdWords, analytics, and charging for that was more than blogging, which is why I pretty much left off with the Trinity Prep homeschool and not posting every week or every other week or whenever I felt like I could get to it, basically. So at that point, and now at this point, I wanted to launch my own brand. So that's what this is Crush It Like a Girl Boss. And so, which I love the name, and I really like the idea of girl boss, which is not a bossy person. It's not, it's knowing how to speak to people and understanding them, and so how to get across to them what it is that you're doing and why. And a lot of times that does take saying something that, you know, you don't really want to have to tell people, but you have to, otherwise they're gonna mess up all of their everything, their SEO. So right, so that's what this launch is, and I'm launching out so now that I'm launching out my own site, the beginning of it on Weebly, of course, I'm going to do the tutorials. I already started one. It was the first like 10 minutes of, you know, me starting my own, like picking out a Weebly theme for my own branding, which is like so exciting. And so I bought the domain, which is awesome. And so I'll have on the YouTube channel the like how to pick out your colors, how to pick out your branding, your theme, how to launch your site in just a couple hours. Actually, you could do it probably less time than that. I think a lot of it takes, a lot of the time is, what is it going to look like? What are you going to call your site? Is it already taken? Can you get the other vanity URLs from Twitter and Facebook for a Facebook page and all this, you know, Google Plus and that sort of thing? And by the way, I know this sounds strange, but it's true. Whatever you pick for your Google Plus page, you actually get a YouTube channel automatically in the same, you can get it in the same name, because of course Google owns them, but I'm not really sure still how that's a connection, although it is. Some things you just have to accept as it just be, and there's no explanation as to why. I think most things with Google are like that, and It's not bad, it's just you have to understand and know it so that when you're picking out the name, you can make sure that you pick the correct thing. So, right, launching out my entire website and my own branding and all my social media strategy, I'm going to show all online, all on through like tutorials on, and I post it to YouTube, and then you all can see how to do it, how to do every single part of it, and it won't be so mysterious and poorly put together as often as it is. And I can tell you that it usually is. So have a great day, and I look forward to all your questions. If you're stuck on a certain point, I could usually do a tutorial in maybe just 2 minutes, or answer questions anytime. Post to my YouTube page, tag me on Twitter, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.